Mother's Day weekend is here. I'm Sonny Dolfiet. I'm the old dad.
I am Josh Stack, and I'm the new dad.
And I'm Caryn Cruise. I'm not a dad.
Caryn Cruise, the stepmom, joining us on this Mother's Day weekend. Wow, so we're talking about moms, and we can also talk about blended families because there's a pretty good chance if you're not in one, you know one, or two, or 10. But let's just start with moms because, Caryn, you've had some stuff online on our Facebook page, which have people laughing. Some of your Mother's Day fails.
Yeah. I'm apparently not very good at sending my mom stuff for Mother's Day, whether it's flowers or a card. One time I sent her flowers that I found online. They were beautiful. They were in this really cool tin, and I sent it to her. And, you know, of course, a few days after Mother's Day, I'm asking, did you get it? How did you like it? And she said, yeah, I think they'll be really pretty once they grow. And I was like,
what do you mean once they grow?
Yeah, that's not the way it's supposed to work. No, they weren't actually flowers. They were seeds. I sent my mom seeds, and she had to grow her own Mother's Day bouquet.
I was about to say, you think it's bad? I've seen all this stuff that it's like, well, if you really want to give a gift to your wife or your mom, it's like, prepare the flowers for her. This is like, I feel like the next step of that. It's like, yeah, okay, we're doing this.
This is probably what most moms have to deal with anyway.
Wow. Wow.
And then I remembered one time, too, I sent her a Mother's Day card with a gift card in it. And again, called afterwards to make sure she got it. And my dad answered the phone and my mom wasn't there. And he said, yeah, I had to get it out of Hawk. And I said, what do you mean you had to get it out of Hawk? He said it was in post office jail because you didn't put enough postage on it. No. And so I had to go and pay to get the card.
Need a Bell's bondsman.
I was about to say, Sonny, we talk about flowers, and you say that you and Nicole always have flowers in the house.
We always have flowers in the house. That's my love language for her. So when Valentine's Day rolls around, and even Mother's Day, my wife says to me, and has said to me now for almost 27 years, I'm not your mother. So she does not expect a gift from me. She doesn't want a gift from me. She said, Simone is my child. My gifts come from Simone. So I'm kind of off the hook there, but am I? No.
Yeah, because, and we've talked about that. I grew up in a household where my mom just didn't really care for flowers. She just didn't see it as like a valuable thing. And so that's what was modeled for me growing up. And then I came into marriage, and that's what I knew. And so
Mother's Day.
Yeah, couple holidays roll around, whether it's a birthday or Valentine's Day or after we have Josie, and I did not get my wife flowers. Then my wife made it very clear to me that I don't really care what your situation was growing up. I like flowers.
Ouch.
So this is going to be happening moving forward. And so it only took once. Yeah, it only took one prompting on that one.
My wife once said to me, I've trained you well. She said, I've trained you. I've trained all of those bad things out of you. I'm like, okay, is this some like Jedi mind trick? But
sometimes.
Yeah, when it comes to moms, apparently 71% say they drop hints in conversations when it comes to what gifts they want. 71%. And then almost 70% actually make wish lists. Here's some of the things I'd like to have.
That's so tough, man. My wife specifically, she's
the same way?
She just buys everything for herself.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's one of these things that it's very hard to shop for because it's like there's always Amazon packages coming to the house. So I'm like, I don't know what to get you. And her mom's the same exact way. So it's like, I don't know.
That's where the wish list, I think, can come in handy. And my husband will say that to me, that he appreciates that because then he doesn't have to guess.
Thank you.
He knows. Yeah. So I get it.
That is super helpful.
Let me ask, though, because our own Caryn is a stepmom. Do you celebrate Mother's Day?
Yes, but it's always been really different in our household because I am a stepmom. The boys have always been with their biological mom on Mother's Day. That's her day, and I've completely understood that. We have the boys for Father's Day. But it's kind of weird, and it's not one of those things that you expect when you think about getting married or having kids, that I have always said to them, now make sure you get your mom something.
Mm-hmm.
Have you thought about what you're going to do for your mom?
Yeah.
So you never think about the fact that you're going to tell your kids to do something for someone else that isn't you. You know, and they have always been really sweet. We've always had a really good relationship. So they have done stuff for me on Mother's Day. And my husband is always reminding them, then do something for your biological mom and do something for your stepmom.
Okay.
And so I've come back many a times. Like one time I was away for the weekend. It was over Mother's Day. And then we had them, you know, they came back to us like the day after. And they had flowers. And one of them had these little smooth stones that he got somewhere. And he put them in a heart shape on the nightstand by my bed. So to me, that was just really, really sweet and unexpected and really appreciated. But this, by the way, actually will be our very first Mother's Day together.
Ringing the bell!
They live out of state now, but they're going to be in town. And so it just happens to fall over Mother's Day. So in 9 years of marriage, this will be the first time we've actually
This is happening.
Wow.
Man. Are you you're pretty excited for the boys to be in town?
Yeah, you know, and we don't really have anything planned. I mean, we may go out to a brunch, and I'm sure there will be flowers in there somewhere. Hint, hint, in case they haven't thought about that.
Oh, wait. Did Caryn just drop a hint for the boys?
Jeremy, if you're listening.
I don't think that was even a hint. That was just straight up, you're buying flowers.
That's, you know, I'm going to make it easy. But
Right.
I'm just excited to actually be able to spend time with them on that day.
Yeah. How old were Zach and Tyler when you and Jeremy met?
They were 10 and 12 when we got married.
Okay.
And honestly, I was somewhat grateful to get to skip the baby stage and the dirty diapers and the sleepless nights and the spit up. You know, I made it just in time for the teenage years, which
In some, I was about to say, and as a dad of a young child, I've also spoken to parents of teenagers, and they're like, it is just a different level of difficult. So, okay, so they were 10 and 12. And then what was like one of those first moments with Zach and Tyler where it's like, okay, I feel like mom to them?
wow. I don't remember a moment specifically. It was just something that really developed over time. And I'll say there are even moments still where I kind of struggle with that. You know, it's almost, I don't know how to describe it except to say almost like this, what do they call that? Imposter syndrome.
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
You know, and I have a little bit of that sometime as a stepmom because even when we were in the same state and we were in the same town, so we would get them every other weekend, but we only had them every other weekend. And so that was a little bit different. During the summers, we would have them a week at a time, and you'd get more in a groove that way. And it was more often.
I mean, when you have, with anything, in any relationship, when you're spending more and more time together, there's more familiarity there.
Yeah. So it is something, though, that has developed over time where I have felt like a mom. And it's kind of neat because there are some things, especially with our youngest son, Tyler, he has autism. And so the way he thinks about things is a little bit different at times. And there would be moments where he wouldn't want to tell Jeremy something because he would think that Jeremy might get mad. And he would tell me.
Yeah.
And then we would go, you know, sometimes I'd say, well, you could tell me. And then we'd talk about it. And I'd say, okay, you know, how can we share this with your dad? Or can we tell him and he won't get mad and we'll just explain things and you can talk to him and I'd be there with him. And so those are moments where...
What a cool dynamic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are moments where you're mom. You are mom.
Yeah. And I did feel like it. And those are the really neat moments to me.
Well, what's interesting too, Josh, and if you don't know, this is Old Dad, New Dad, talking about Mama's Day and stepmoms in the house. Yeah. But Caryn did not want children. Growing up, she's like,
Yeah, I kind of came to a point where I had just thinking of, you know, when you're younger, at least as a girl, and I would think about marriage a lot. And I would think about family and what that would look like. When I was young, I would think like 4 or 5 kids. But then as I got older, that would start to dwindle, like maybe 2, maybe 1. And I got to a point, too, because I didn't get married until I was in my later 30s. And I just decided I didn't want to have kids anymore. I didn't really want to go through that. And it wasn't that I didn't like kids. It just was something that I felt like really was not for me. Mm-hmm. And even when I started dating my now husband, my roommate at the time was like, "Are you sure? Because he's got kids, and I know how you feel about that. And do you need to pray about this?" And I did pray about it, and I was really okay with it. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of I feel like bonus mom, and I got bonus kids.
Bonus mom and bonus kids.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Well, it's interesting when you talk about bonus mom, bonus kids, step families. 1,300 new step families form every single day. Well over 50% of those who are listening right now. That's why I said if you're not, someone who is.
Oh, yeah.
So
I was about to say, Sonny, you're from a blended family. I'm from a blended family as well.
Mm-hmm.
Both my siblings are half siblings. We all have different moms, and so I'm a product of that. You said you and your siblings are are half siblings.
Ours are interesting because my oldest sister is 20 years older than I am.
Wow.
20 years older than I am.
So you probably weren't even in the same house together.
No, because this, after my father and his first wife went their separate ways, he met my mom. And my mother was 21, he was 41. We have a younger sister who's 15 years younger than me.
Wow.
So there's a 35-year age difference between my youngest sister and my oldest sister.
I was about to say, so I'm the youngest in my family. I'm also one of three, and my oldest sibling, my brother, is 23 years older than I am.
Wow.
And then my sister's 10 years older than I am. And so, my brother, both my brother's kids, my niece and nephew, are older than I am. So born an uncle, represent. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
You can't tell them what to do, though,
no,
can you?
for sure not. Yeah. Speaking of imposter syndrome, it'd be like, Uncle Josh. It's like, please don't call me that. This feels very. This title doesn't feel right.
My niece Danielle is 1 year older than I am, and she calls me Uncle Sonny all the time, and I'm like, that just doesn't seem.
It feels so wrong.
It just doesn't seem right. Yes,
that's awesome.
Yeah, but step families, there are so many blended families, and would you have any advice from a mom's point of view on how not to step on the biological mom's feet, if you will?
Yeah. I would say you just have to be aware and have to be conscious of the relationship and the dynamic. I will say that we've always had a good relationship with each other. And it's funny because in some ways we've actually gotten along better, me and the boy's mom, than my husband and the ex-wife. Yeah. But there's more baggage there. So you get a lot of advice when you're about to become a parent and a step parent. And somebody had once told me, always just call them your kids. Never call them your step kids. They're your kids. And I've never actually held to that because their mom has always been in the picture and I've wanted to be respectful. So sometimes I do refer to them as our kids. Other times I say my stepsons. Sometimes I call them by name. And it just depends on the situation. And kind of what that looks like for you. But I think it's just, you have to find your groove because every family dynamic is so different. There really is no one size fits all.
Great point. Very good point. For those families who are not getting along, and there are quite a few that they don't see eye to eye, man, it's truly my hope and prayer that you can give that to God. Because there's unforgiveness in many families. These are my kids. You see that all the time, and it's very unfortunate. But again, kids. Let's go back to who they really are. They're kids, so they need, in my opinion, an example of stability. And that stability is you acting like an adult. So, not to rain on this parade on Mom's Day and all, but maybe someone's going to hear that right now and say, yeah, you need to spend more time with whoever that family member is. But that's just my point. I wanted to share that. So
can I tell you a funny story about the first time I met the boy's mom face to face?
Uh-oh. Was it like how you do that?
Oh, the Western sound. Boom, 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 boom.
No, it really, it kind of was, but it wasn't.
Okay.
So this is what had happened. We actually, the very first time we had met was after Jeremy and I were married, and it was over Easter. And we were at Jeremy's stepmom's house celebrating Easter, and she had come by, the boy's mom had come by to drop something off to our youngest son, Tyler. And Tyler, again, he has autism, and so he sees things a little bit differently, and not thinking anything about it, says to her, "Do you want to come in and meet my new mom?" He's excited.
Yeah.
And so he brings her in, and I hear him, and so he says, come to me, come on, I want you to meet my mom.
Oh.
And so he's the one that actually introduced us.
Wow.
My
Talk
husband.
about kicking into the deep end here.
Oh, man.
Thanks, Tyler.
Let's just rip this Band-Aid off right now.
So it is a very awkward, introduction to each other. We're both being very nice about it. It's nice to meet you. Hi, I'm Rachel. I've heard a lot about you. I've heard a lot about you too. And we have this moment, and then, we just go on, and everything, she left and everything was fine. But I was really mad at my husband, Jeremy, because he was upstairs, and because their relationship was so contentious at the time, he wouldn't come down.
Oh.
And so afterwards, I kind of let him have it, because I was like, I had to face this whole situation by myself, and you weren't there. But it ended up fine. We worked things out. But it was one of those moments where, for Tyler, that we weren't going to try not to make it as weird as possible. We were trying to be polite and cordial to one another, even though it was a very awkward situation at the moment.
Yeah. Wow. And was there a prayer there ahead of time? Or was just the Holy Spirit with you, that there was peace there between the whole situation?
So. Yeah, I mean, if there was a prayer, I only had a moment for it, like, oh, Jesus, help.
Hey.
Hallelujah.
Listen,
Yeah.
God hears our prayers, short or long.
But I will say, we moved to Texas about a year and a half ago, and a month before we moved, there was a tornado in our town, and it didn't do any damage to our home or to the boy's mom's home, but she had damage down her road, and electricity was out, and Tyler was at home with her, and it was kind of cold. And so we invited them over, not only the boys, but also their mom too. And we're like, hey, we're getting Chick-fil-A. What do you want? We'll feed you. And she stayed the night. And that to me was a really neat moment, because not only, I think all of us together had come so far in our relationships, for my husband with his ex-wife, for me, even with the boy's mom, and getting deeper, and to be able to actually invite her to stay and be there. And again, for the kids too, that was also for their sake. Like, we don't want you to suffer just because things didn't work out here. We're going to find ways that we can to come together.
I think Caryn just gave us what we need to do with those in Congress right now. Order some Chick-fil-A. That Christian chicken, apparently it helps everything.
Chick-fil-A sauce, just cover that over every situation.
Caryn, are you still blessed to have your mom?
Oh, I am, yes.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. Well, tell us about your mama.
My mama is in her 70s. I lost my dad about 3 years ago, so she is now a widow and kind of learning that life as well. And we're going to take her on a cruise later this summer to Alaska.
Cool. I didn't know that she was going with y'all.
Yeah, it's
I knew
really
that was
neat.
coming up.
My husband and I are going on a cruise to Alaska. We are taking my mom and his stepmom. So we're taking the moms on a cruise together. Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm really, and she's really, I mean, we talked about it the other day, and she's like, yeah, there's 63 more days. And I was like, okay. So
just in case you needed to know.
That's right.
I love that. So is this a Mama's Day gift for your moms?
Not necessarily. Well, she's calling it a Mother's Day gift, because I asked her what she wanted for Mother's Day, and she said, you guys are taking us on this cruise. You don't have to get me anything, but we are anyway. It was kind of just something special that we could do, and we had been wanting to do, and this has kind of been on her bucket list to go to Alaska, and for us too. So we thought, why not? Why not just do it?
What a cool trip.
Mama Dak?
Yeah, mom and dad is still around. We now live a whole lot closer to her because we just recently moved back to the side of town that I grew up on, and so that's been a lot of fun, just being closer to her. And as Sunday and I have talked about at length, talking about a just difficult situation when it comes to family and a blended family. My sister and my mom don't see eye to eye, and it's just made for some really difficult holidays.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Sunny even as recent as yesterday, just that, as probably many of us are, holidays are just really difficult when it comes to splitting time and making sure everybody feels valued and celebrated, in that time together. And so just playing the juggling game of how are we going to make this time work? But no matter what it looks like, I want my mom to feel celebrated.
Yeah.
And I'm my mom's only biological child. And so, making sure this weekend that we're taking time just to spend good time with her. And it's been really nice. It's been great for our relationship to be able to just get a little bit closer geographically. And just so there's no more excuses in terms of, we can't make it over there. We got to get over here.
We don't want to deal with 35.
Yeah, exactly.
Or 30 or 635.
Yeah, so we don't even have to take a highway to get to her house. So
at the same point, there's also no excuse for you not to come.
There's also no excuse. But it's been good. Yeah, we've I feel like our relationship right now is in a pretty healthy place. My dad passed away. Crazy to think now. 6 years ago, a little over 6 years ago, and this is probably the best place we've been in that time. And so I'm just really thankful to the Lord that's been the case, because that has not always been the case over the last 6 years.
Yeah. So, well, hallelujah for those who are still blessed to have your mamas. I pray that you find some time just to show them that love. I miss my Susie. My Susie went home to be with the Lord, and the one blessing I have is that her Bible still smells like her, so I can smell it and just hug it. And I tell Jesus to hug my mama. So thinking of our brother Doug, too, Doug Hanna. Doug has shared, and he really struggled the last few days. But I told him, when you work on your mom's homegoing celebration, at least for me, God gave me a beautiful peace. And apparently he said the same thing happened with him, too. He had a beautiful peace. He knows he's going to see his mama again. And for all who are mourning this Mother's Day weekend, the promise of heaven is real. So we pray that maybe this can help you just to know you'll see her again. All right, y'all. Sorry to end there. Let's.
That was beautiful.
Let's just say again, Happy Mama's Day. Hope that it's a great weekend. Old dad, new dad's been taken over by the stepmom, and we don't mind.
I was about to say, I don't think Jeremy would have too much problem with me saying this. The better half of the Married Morning Show here at 90.9 KCBI. You can listen to them Monday through Fridays.
Saturdays.
And Saturdays.
Yes.
But Monday through Friday, it's like 5:30 to 8:30, and then again at 10. And they're all over the place. And then as well, Caryn, you have an awesome podcast that's a part of this KCBI podcasting network as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Gifts in the Garden. I see a lot of God through nature. That's kind of how he speaks to me so often. So I just write about that and talk about that.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's a lot more, including Gifts in the Garden, grandparenting. Obviously, Dad's here. There's a lot for you at the KCBI Podcasting Network. You can find that wherever you listen to podcasts or at kcbi.org.
Subscribe, hit like, share, please. I'm the old dad.
I'm the new dad.
I'm the not dad.